Am I live? I think I'm live. Okay. Yes. I think. All right. Hey, Desties and Bride friends. So, this is my first time going live on DESTI TV. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing this right before I get all into this because it would be a shame if I didn't know what I was doing. So, let me just look real quick, check this out, make sure that I am live. Hold on. I think so. Yes, I think I see myself. Skip trial. Yes, this is good. Awesome. Okay, I already said it already, but hey, Desties and Bride friends. This is episode 34 of the Desti Guide to Destination Weddings. So I'm here, and it is a surprise, of course. I did have an episode planned for you. It was actually going to be, and it's still happening, but Desti Bride Laura was gonna go this week, but I actually had to jump on today, and I really did. So what I decided was to do Desti Bride Laura on Valentine's Day weekend, which is next weekend. And okay, so let me just go ahead and post this real quick. So, can you see that? Like, yes. Isn't she gorgeous? It's gonna be so good. She got married in Aruba. There's more. Like, yeah, you see her? Yeah, it's great. Okay. So, that is next week. But today, we are going to be talking about my mistakes. Why are we talking about my mistakes? So, this week has been a really great week. On the Destiland Instagram, if you're not following me, then make sure you find me. If you're on Instagram, it's at desti.land. But on the Destiland Instagram, I rebooted the HMHU, which is Help Me Help You poll for 2021. And what I did was just asked you to ask me questions, give me content ideas so that I know what you guys need, where you are right now, when did you get married, all of the questions. And you guys know, like, I do coaching and I do the Dusty hours, and I'm always providing advice and connecting with you all. And one of the things that I kept hearing this week and seeing this week more than usual was the word perfect. Was a lot of like, first of all, like, only your photos are perfect and your wedding was so perfect, and how can I get my wedding to be that perfect? And I hear that sometimes, and I'm always like going, wasn't perfect. And I know that I'm always sharing tips about like what we did, and I have the full podcast where all I do is interview professionals and I interview brides, and they talk about how perfect and how great and how, like, the things that they went through. We do talk about the trials and errors, but it can get lost in the mix sometimes when you see the photos, and especially on social media, like, you guys see these amazingly airbrushed and perfect photos, and or just people who, like, they're posting bridal parties and they're posting weddings, and it's really not real weddings. Sometimes it's actually just like an editorial shoot, so everything is absolutely perfect, or just photos or snapshots. And I know that last week it was so funny because Alea's wedding, not last week, that was actually a couple of weeks ago. Alea's wedding, her initial thing, like, I love, she was like, my wedding was perfect, perfect. And it was, my wedding was perfect, but it was perfect for me and it was perfect for her. But that doesn't mean that things don't go wrong. And I feel like there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of anxiety that's happening right now. And I just had to jump on today to really just, I've been wanting to do this episode anyway, and it just felt so timely to make sure that I come on here and just share. Like, I talk about them, like I said, in Dusty Hours and in other things here and there. There are some things that I've discussed in the past, and there are some new things that I'm going to share as well. But the reality is, my wedding was not perfect. That's like a shocker, like, oh my God, but it just wasn't. And yours won't be absolutely perfect, as in nothing goes wrong. That's just not realistic in any way, shape, or form to even think about that. So being fearful or putting too much pressure on things to go the absolute positively best way possible, especially with like what's going on with COVID, it's just not realistic. It's not healthy. It's not like a self-loving thing to do to yourself. So I thought that I would really share and kind of just have a super vulnerable moment with you guys, and not in the community. Still want this to be an episode. I've never gone live on DESTI TV, so I said, hey, I'm going with it in 2021, y'all. And if I would have said I will plan this episode, I can't tell you when it would have happened. So it's happening right now. So before I go too deep into this, if you are brand new, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. I am going live. I'm not going live. I'm not going live every week. At least I don't think I will. We'll see how this goes. But I will have a new episode every week. Yeah, hit the button to make sure that you are reminded. Like right now, if you got a notice that says DESTI TV is going live, that's because you hit that button, and that lets you know immediately. And if you're brand new, also go ahead and give me that hashtag I'm a DESTI and drop a comment and let me know when you're getting married and where you're getting married. And actually, if anybody's watching right now too, go ahead and drop me a comment and let me know if anybody's here, because I'm not directly in YouTube and I can't see anything. Either way, this episode will immediately be available on DESTI TV, and then I will have the podcast episode, the audio version as usual will go on. It won't happen tonight, but it'll happen probably tomorrow around bride from brunch. So yes, I was about to say I was about to go in, but one more thing. Y'all know my intros are always long. Even live, it's going to be long. But also, if you're not a part of the community, DESTI Lovers community, make sure that you join that. You can find all the information. I will drop the link in the comments, or you can just always click in my about or whatever. But the DESTI Lovers community is literally a community of bride friends. Everybody's, if you're getting married or you just love what's happening, we talk about things. And when I mentioned DESTI Hour, if you're like, what the heck is that? It's very similar to this, but it's in a Zoom call. We all just see each other and talk, and I answer Q&As. And then we have a bride from brunch tomorrow. So yeah. So anyway, if you haven't joined, make sure that you join. You are here though because you want to hear about my mistakes, and not just my mistakes, but what you can do to avoid them. I'm always talking about, I learned my lessons the hard way so that you don't have to. So I have notes because y'all see I will ramble. So I do have my notes. It's there. Yeah, it's real. It's real notes. So I will start. The first thing, okay. So, let me preface this by saying I'm going through everything from emotionally, financially, physically, planally, that's not even a real thing, but just across the board, I'm going to share some of everything. So they're in no particular order, but the very first mistake that I made was I was being too honest. So when I say I'm too honest, of course, you're supposed to tell the truth with things, but there were people who I hurt feelings. I hurt feelings that I didn't mean to hurt. And it was everything from me actually telling someone like, hey, I almost didn't invite you because of XYZ. Like, almost didn't. Like, that's offensive thinking about it now, but I really just meant it because I felt like I wanted to make sure that, it was understood, and I was kind of like having a vulnerable moment and going like, hey, things aren't that great and you almost didn't make it on the guest list. Can you imagine that? We need to work on this. And in all actuality, that is a really bad thing to do. Definitely don't do that. Also, when it was brought to me like, oh, you didn't invite so-and-so, or, all these people are like, oh my God, you weren't invited. My number one thing was, this is not a family reunion. And I say it to you guys, like, your destination wedding is not a family reunion. Everybody is going to want a invitation, which is really funny because people want invitations that probably won't even come anyway. And I'm always very particular in telling you guys, like, don't over invite. Don't invite people that you can't afford to come to your wedding. So my thing that I say to you guys, I really mean it, which is like, this is not a family reunion. Like, that's the point. If all the family want to get together, then we could plan a family reunion where everybody's putting in on this event. But this is my wedding, not a family reunion. I actually said that out of my mouth, and I meant it. But would I say that again? No, not not to the person that I said it to. So it's just more limiting. Like, I feel like I definitely wasn't a bitch, but I also at the same time was just, it's a know your audience situation. Know who you are talking to, and just kind of, you can have you can have heightened feelings and heightened emotions and just really be in your own feelings. And I think that if I had time to like really think about this, I wouldn't have said the things that I said the way that I said them. But at the same time, maybe I would have. It depends. And I will give a disclaimer that just because something was a mistake, that doesn't mean that it's a regret. So some of these things are like, yeah, just because it's a mistake, it doesn't mean that it's a regret. Sometimes there are times when you make a mistake, but it needed to happen. So you could have a mistake, and then it could create a boundary that really needed to happen, or something can come out where people really understand how you're really feeling, and all of these things. Like, mistakes, you can learn from these things. You can learn from my mistakes, but you can also learn from your own mistakes. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that preface there too. The other thing that I would say that I did, is I was too emotional. So they're in the same family, but not really. My feelings got hurt. Like, so for example, like, there's no, at this point, if you follow me in any way, or if you've been on the Dusty Land blog or in anything, like, there's no mystery. My mom wasn't at my wedding. So the reason behind that is what, like, that reason is, and there's no mistake or anything behind that. But I will say that being extremely emotional and not really letting people be themselves can get you caught up in some ways. And I say that because it's like, if someone has always, and this isn't even this, I was about to say this isn't about my mom, but let me not get all weird. Okay, hold on. All right. See, this is that live stuff. See, I could have edited that out, but I'm not gonna edit it out. My mom specifically, whoa, no, not even gonna go there, because it's more general than that. So people in general will say that you need to know who the people are. You need to let people be themselves. And when I say let them, that just means don't expect them to be anyone different. If someone has not been celebratory, or if someone kind of has a history of kind of being a certain way, or not being supportive, or not being able to like really focus and make things about you, or if someone's not able to, if someone's not creative, or if someone's not, like, this can be general. If someone, you can't suddenly decide to make someone like a DIY king or queen. You can't suddenly decide to make someone emotional. You can't suddenly decide to make someone stand up for some things that they're not going to. Whoever the people are, whoever your friends or your family or supportive people are, you need to let them be that, and kind of reel your own emotions in, because what'll happen is you can hurt your own feelings. Because in my mind, I'll say, you may always be this way, but I expect something different. Like, but not for my wedding. Like, that doesn't make sense. You're completely playing yourself. And I think that that is a big mistake. And that definitely went somewhere I didn't necessarily know was going to go. That was not in my notes. But yes. So, be prepared. So yeah, the two lessons on that is be prepared for people to be themselves, which, and a big key factor, something I said at Desti Hour, is if someone hasn't celebrated you on your birthday, like if something always comes up on like your birthday and they can't get it together, then know that your wedding, they're not going to suddenly be able to get it together. So that doesn't mean like don't have anything to do with them or whatever, but that just means be realistic. There we go. Be realistic in your expectations of people. And that will help you calm your own emotions. And at the same time, if you do get upset about anything, make sure that you pause and don't act irrationally. I did have a moment. There's a specific day that I can't think of. It's because I blogged on the Black DESTI blog. I blog every single day leading from 200 up until 0 about my wedding. And there's a specific day that I always get questions about. It's escaping me right now, but I disclosed that I really hurt someone's feelings, and I really did. Now, the problem, which is something I've never shared before, and I'm gonna be as I don't know, bear with me with this one. So I was texting, and that's the first problem. So let's just reenact this. So I'm texting, and I'm getting this text message that I'm really, really unhappy about, and I'm not liking it. And I'm saying, I don't like this. I don't like this attitude. I don't like what's happening right now. This isn't working for me, and it's not working, right? It's not working. It's not working. It's not working. Me being angry, I should have put my phone down and went and said something to maybe Che, or meditated, or journaled, or I don't know. Or I could have picked up my phone and dialed. You got your friends. You need to vent. You got somebody you could call. So called and said, let me tell you, da 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 da. I did neither of those things. What I did instead was I texted the other person, my venter, texting like, girl, let me tell you, I can't believe this is happening, da 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 da, and then press send. And as soon as I pressed send, I realized that I texted the actual violator and not my venti. It was a no moment, huge, huge, huge no moment, and was a hot mess. So from that, I will share, like, that was a huge, like clearly that's a mistake, right? Now, was it egregious? Was it horrible? All these things. It just it was a hot mess. I'll put it that way. Feelings were hurt, and things came out that should they have come out before? Should I have shared my feelings in a much more healthy way? Absolutely, positively. Did I? No. So I say that to say that had I calmed my emotions and checked myself and not texted angrily, I would have been in a better space. So check your emotions, check your emotions, check your emotions. That's that. Now, that third thing is literally planning related. So those were their more emotional things. So I don't know that we had a real plan B for our wedding. So it's very important to make sure that you know about your plan B. Plan B means in case of inclement weather, where is my ceremony going to be? Like if it's raining, what's going to happen? Or if there's whatever, what is going to happen? We got married at the Blue Venado Beach Club off of our resort. Beautiful spot, very secluded, jungle. I feel like I remember them saying like if it rains, there's like a little area that we would get married. You guys, we didn't dig too deep into what that would be. We definitely just worked on a hope and a prayer, and it didn't rain. But when I think back on that, I'm always telling you guys to make sure that you have a plan B. We did not know what the plan B was. And I'm wondering, Che, if you're watching this or whenever you do watch this, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I personally don't remember our real plan B problem, like our plan B plan. We shuttled guests, so they would have had to come. They would have been rained on. I don't know that we had like ideas of like umbrellas, and maybe our planner had it planned out, but we didn't really dig to make sure that we knew and understood what was going to happen. There wasn't enough planning and understanding in that space for me. And like I said, it worked out for me, but I would hate for you guys to not do that and it doesn't work out for you. So that is a mistake. Um, the next thing was contracts. So with our contract, I always say it's very important that you know what's in your contract. And a big thing is because one of the mistakes that we made was not being 100% clear on our our contracts. So there is a specific moment where we had a lighting situation. We have these string lights, and what I'll do also, there's always a blog post that's considered show notes on DESTI. So I'll have photos for you guys to be able to see what I'm talking about if anything makes sense that needs a photo on it. So in this case, I'll put the photo of the lighting that I'm talking about. So we had like string lights and we have ball lights as well, these big bulbs. And for the string lights, we used one company, and for the bulbs, we used a different company. Now, what we were doing was being cheap. So we said we're going to use two different companies because the bulb light company, the big ball, whatever they are, company was a little more expensive. So we said, okay, we're going to get the lights from this person because they're cheaper. Turned out, if we would have really paid attention to that, the original person, the bulb light person, also builds in their installation charge where the lights were just rentals. All of it was rentals, but it was strictly the rental without installation. So when we arrived in Mexico, there was no installation, and our planner ended up having to like find people to do it. She couldn't find someone to do it, so we ended up paying for our the original person who put the balls up to actually put the lights too. So we had to pay an installation charge to him when we should have just from the beginning paid him for the whole thing. Like, he was absolutely amazing. And yeah, it was Candle Boutique Mexico. I love them. I'll drop links to everything of who we use. There's links everywhere for our wedding anyway. But the ultimate thing was contracts, knowing what's in them. We've combed through pretty much everything else for the most part. But that was something that we definitely missed. And that meant that money that we brought with us to Mexico, actual cash, we had to pay. And it was a few $100s. It was a couple, I feel like maybe around $300 or so. And I was upset about it. But what can you do? So, contracts. Oh, that pink laid to the guys. Thank you, boo. You like my pink sweater? It's cute. It's fluffy, right? With my, yeah. Anyway, thanks. So the other thing, so where was that? Contracts, check. 5. We should have paid closer attention to our guest list. So in that there's a lot of pieces to this one. So I always tell you guys not to over invite. So we know not to over invite. A couple of mistakes that I think that we made, and personally that I made, was one of the rules that we had was not to, and I don't know how much of a hard steadfast, whatever, how concrete the rule was, but we just generally decided not to cherry pick if that family members. So we have a big family. Like for me, I have lots of uncles and aunts and cousins all over the place, and some I'm closer with than others. And there's a select few of like uncles and cousins that I am very close with. And instead of just picking like invite the uncle but not like aunts, or a certain uncle like you, or cousin, invite this cousin but not all, it was kind of like we just decided to not invite any at all. And that, I feel like that was a mistake. Would things have been different? I don't know, but we didn't really, like, I didn't really think about that much. And I know that feelings were hurt. And then I also kind of feel like some people were, I'm not going to say missing because our group was amazing. But like when it's time now, because we're going to be coming up on our 5th year, there are certain people who are like, oh, we're absolutely inviting them. Like, kind of, you wish you would have. Probably, yes, you do. So I feel like the original plan was to not hurt feelings of anybody. Kind of was like the idea, like, oh, we're not just not going to cherry pick. But I think what we ended up doing was hurting feelings potentially, like hurting feelings of people who really do matter, or like leaving out people who really do matter and are really a part of our lives, then it, all for the reason of the greater for everybody, if that makes sense. Did that come out right? Yeah, supposed to be caring about you're supposed to care about everybody. Let me try this one more time to make sure that I get this right. I feel like instead of what we didn't want to do was hurt anybody's feelings, and what we ended up doing was hurting pretty much everybody gonna feel some type of way. But the people who you really care about, like, and you care about everybody. But the really this is not coming out right. This is crazy. What, like, okay, so we decided not to invite any uncles, aunts, and cousins. And there are certain aunts and uncles and cousins, like there's certain members of the family that we are very close with versus some that we just never see and aren't that close with. So we just decided to not invite any at all. And what we should have done, or what was a mistake, was not really exploring the idea of really working through what's the most important to us, which is like valuing, or really, being okay to say that we have a real relationship with these people, so these people can come. And you, on the other hand, can't really be mad like that because you don't know nothing about me. We don't know nothing about each other. It's just not like that. So we decided to do things differently, and I think that it would have been changed, and that ended up being extremely long, which interesting. I can't have this be crazy long because usually, y'all, I do a lot of editing, so I'm going to give myself a timer on this because it can get out of hand for sure. Yes, the people I'm closer to. Yes. Um, so we also over reminded guests. So here's the thing: you're gonna have people who, like, you want them to RSVP. Everybody has deadlines. So our planner, Sarah, was in charge of like making sure that people knew their dates, and you had to like make sure that you got your room block secured, and then you had to make your deposits, and then there was a final payment deadline, and if you didn't make your final payment, then you weren't attending. You would, whatever. There were certain people that we, like, I feel like is a over remind, like it's like pulling teeth to get them to really put the payments in and do what they're supposed to do, and it's not really that much of a surprise that these were the people who were kind of violators at the wedding in general. Like, they just weren't respecters across the board. Like, if they're not respecting the dates, the deadlines, all of the things that are really important, then why, again, would they suddenly start to really care about what's important when it comes down to wedding events and what this really means and stuff like that? So it happens to be that the same people that almost didn't make it because they weren't doing the right things were the same people who were not doing the right things. So I say that to just say you do want to remind guests. So you want to make sure that guests are aware of things. But if it really feels like it's pulling teeth, then you're babysitting people. It's like you're kind of pressure. You could be applying pressure, like pressuring people to come when maybe they really don't want to come. And you don't want to apply that pressure either. Like, this should be a we want to come, we want you there, great fluid interaction. And if you're dragging and pulling and hey, remember, if it's like that, then you should probably just go ahead and leave that alone. And I think that was a mistake that we had in doing that. So that's that. And the budget did get out of control a little bit. We I've talked about this one in depth. So if you are in the community, you definitely want to check out the DESTI hour called Money Bag, because I went through every single piece. But what I will say as far as mistakes when it comes to the budget was there wasn't a spreadsheet, or like there wasn't enough information to really let you know exactly what was, like, what you were going to be paying for line by line and what you needed. So things kind of crept up on us. And it just added up. So there were certain things where, we were really good about it and making sure that things were good. But then towards the end, it was like, oh yeah, we need to do this. Oh yeah, we got to add this. Oh yeah, we got to do this. So that was a mistake that I guess I don't know how much we could have really helped at the time, but what you can learn from my mistake is to have a budget spreadsheet. Now, where would you get that spreadsheet? Well, I created one. It's absolutely free. It's on DESTIland. I will link to that as well, but it's a super, it's, of course, it's cute. Of course, it's got pink in it, but I went through every single thing that one I use. Like, I shared it, I've made it blank. It has automatically auto updating. It's a full spreadsheet. It's Google Sheets, but you can also save it as Excel if that's what you use as well. But I've heard really great things about it. It's been really helpful, and that is like my gift to make sure that no one's like me. There's things that everything we use, but then also I've kind of compiled other items that you could need, so that way you don't have to go through what we went through, because you just don't know. There's so many little bitty things that can add up. And I said it earlier, but if you have any questions, or if there's anything that you think that I should create, like elaborate on to be a completely different episode, drop those in the comments. I'm always checking. I'm always in the comments anyway, and I'll add that as well. So to learn from the budget, the spreadsheet, the Dusty hours, a full hour and some change that I talked about, full budget. And also Che came on too, and he talked about it as well with me. And I also have a blog post that I completely forgot about that's on the Black Dusty blog called How to Figure Out Your Budget. And it gives you another thing. I completely forgot that I did this, you guys. I did it like back in 2017, but it's still perfect and beautiful. So I will link to that in the description as well. You can find it on the Black Dusty blog, but in the description. I'll link to that in the show notes as well. So the other thing, photos. When it comes to photos, mistakes that we made, it wasn't a lot of things. I love our photos, but every time we go through them, like we have them on the Amazon Fire photos, like our Fire Stick kind of just goes and they have photos. Every time there's one photo that I really wish that we would have gotten, which is a group photo. I see these people, like when the couples have everybody, like if you have the photographer bring everybody out, like on the beach or in the garden or wherever, or not wherever you're getting married, if you get one photo of your full party, I would just really love to have that photo. That's really the only thing that I could think of as far as mistakes, but it's something that I think about often. We have one for our night on the town, which was the night before that when we went out. It was a full white party, but I really wish that we would have gotten that for the wedding. We don't have that. Another mistake, I put that I physically forgot myself. So what that means is I do love how I looked. I worked really hard for that. I like literally I had the Black Dusty workouts. I was crazy about it, and I love how that was. But I did have to get reeled in, so I feel like it was a big mistake to like be too hard on myself about everything. And Che had to stop me at one point because I was just kind of flipping out about things and was like, hey, like, just so you know, I'm marrying you. Like, don't forget that I'm marrying you. So just remember that you're still going to be you. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be fit or, have your skin together or your teeth or all of the things. But just remember, like, still be loving, self-loving with yourself. Be self-loving with yourself. And then the other thing was I actually, and I talked about this more in the 15 things to never forget. That's an episode as well that I did. But the other thing that I will say is to bring tampons or pads or whatever. Just bring them. Have somebody bring them with you. No, somebody else can bring them, but I think that you just need to pack them too. I didn't talk too much about packing with things. Yes, I did. But one thing, and I say forget myself because I know like what my cycle is, and I know that things can kind of be sporadic and it's really random too. And I seriously came on my period on our honeymoon, and we had to ask, because we honeymoon in Jamaica, and we had the overwater bungalows. It was all great, and I had to ask when actually I think Che, my new husband, had to ask our butler to find me tampons. That was mortifying on so many different levels. That's a mistake. So I should have had some. I had not one, and I'm the type of person that has them in my purse all the time. I've always got one little raggedy one somewhere in a little pocket somewhere. Everybody knows that. I had none. I was out of the country and I had none. So that was a mistake. So even if it's never like, even if you're getting married nowhere near it, please just pack one or two just to have them, just in case. It luckily was the last day of the honeymoon, but still, I was playing games, so don't do that. What else? I so we got legally married here in Pittsburgh the week before our wedding. And one thing that I did that was a mistake was I did not think that much about my outfit. And it doesn't sound like a big thing, but if every year you're looking back at the photos, it becomes a big thing. And I really, seriously, I will drop a link in the show notes. I will drop a photo in the show notes because I look like a naval officer. I don't know if y'all have seen this picture, but I really look like a naval officer. It looked like we were both in the Navy and getting married really quickly at the Justice of the Peace. And it was such a great moment and I love it. But I didn't have my hair done at the time, so it was back in a bun. I had this striped button up shirt on. I think I had a cute necklace, but I had a blue pencil skirt and some sneakers, glittery sneakers. I did not think about it at all. And I was serious. I was serious about, I don't know if y'all see, but our welcome event, I had that perfect, like I was themed. It was like, that's Mexico, the little green outfit. And then on our white party, white, made sure, boom, perfect. Wedding, boom, perfect, make sure. All of the things, thought about them all. But the one thing I did not think about, if you're getting married legally at home, think about that outfit because it does matter. And there's photos, and we actually have a video. And I'm just not that happy about it. So it's not a huge mistake. Didn't say these things were huge mistakes, but they were mistakes. And I see them. And I go, every time. Not into the photo. What else? Welcome gifts. So what we did for our wedding, we had a box. So we gifted our guests. We had these boxes, which is so funny that we still have these years later. But we had these boxes hand delivered to our guests' room, and each box had some of everything in it. I don't even know. Shout out to Pittsburgh. Oh, that's funny. Yes, Pittsburgh. How long did it take for a license to come back? Oh, it was quick. But I feel like maybe a couple of weeks. I don't think so though. I'll look and see because I have the dates though. We actually got a copy when we left. Like the judge married us and then signed it off right there, and then they had to file it to make it official, and then it was mailed to us. But it wasn't even a month when that happened. So what we did, I feel like we got married the week before. We went to Mexico the next week. By the time we got home, our mailed copy was probably in the mail. It was quick. So it was perfect. It was like, we got back and we were home and then we were married officially. Like, and then we did sign something. And there's a whole thing. I have a whole DESTI hour about the ceremony too. And I will do an episode. Let me know if y'all want something about civil being legal versus not legal in the countries, because I feel like I should do that. I get that question a lot too. But we had itineraries. Can you see that? Yeah. We had all of these things, and this isn't what the episode is about. We still have the old tequila shots, which is funny. We had these. There's a story about these too. I don't know if you know the story about these. But aloe vera, it doesn't matter. We had a whole bunch of stuff in here, and what we did was we had everything separate in the suitcases so that once we arrived in Mexico, we had to have a full assembly line, which I blogged about it, and I said it was really sweet. It was great. My dad and my stepmom came and they helped, and we just sat and we walked around and everybody had their little things. You put the Pepto here. It was great, but it was very time consuming. And what I would have done, I feel like it was a mistake to make everything separate. What I should have done is sat here and put everything into baggies. Like every single thing could have, at least every guest. I couldn't have made the point was that I couldn't make every box and prepackage it and put it, because it would have been 30 boxes and that's not possible. But what could have happened was all of the contents could have been in its own Ziploc bag, so that all I had to do was assemble the boxes, put the tissue in, and then throw the items in. Instead, it was literally pulling every single thing over and over again. And when you're there and it's the wedding week and you've got so many things you're doing, it really was time consuming. And if it weren't for my dad and my stepmom, we would probably still be assembling those things, John. It was crazy. So that was a mistake. Other than that, it was good. So what do you learn from that? Prep better. Think about logistically giving yourself the least amount of things to do once you arrive. Try, just try to. And the next thing was I wasn't flexible enough. So there were things that happened, and they would like really flip me out. And I feel like it was just because I don't know, and it's just one of those things where you're like, why is this happening? What the heck? I already planned and made this arrangement, so why isn't this working out? So anything from like the lighting issue that I talked about earlier, that was like a what in the world. But even more than that, things are going to happen, and it's stuff that people can't help. Like for that one, I feel like somebody should have known that that lighting issue was an issue. But for instance, with our florals on our ceremony, we had these large arrangements, and the original arrangement was supposed to be this fluffy, I cannot think of the name of the word of it now, but I'll have a photo of what it was supposed to look like. And what happened was the actual farm or the place that they source this specific floral arrangement from, wherever this plant comes from, there was a full drought, and it just wasn't possible. So at that point, it was immediately told to us, I feel like a couple of days, maybe on Wednesday, the day of our tasting, it came out that, oh, you know what? The other thing is you really wanted this and you really wanted that, but there's a drought, so you can't get that. So we have a good replacement for that. And I'm like, what on earth? Like, what does that even mean? What the heck? And was thinking more about it, and it was one of those things where it was like, okay, I had to go with the flow, but it was hard to go with the flow. I had to get talked off the ledge a couple of times. Another thing that happened was for our ceremony, you can kind of see the pictures of like we have our guests and our seats. The seats are kind of like this. And at the front, at the end, I had my husband right there, and it was supposed to just be him, like him and the officiant. I wanted nothing else there. We had rose petals going down, and I wanted to just be ocean. And when I remember walking and you hear the music, and I've got my dad, and we're walking, and I see a table. There's a table at the end of the aisle. And for a moment, I was like, what the heck is that doing there? And I did shift, but I wish I would have either not been that detail oriented or not cared enough. Maybe I did do a good job with that. But either way, it was something where it was like, and it was like, snap out of it. You see that man and you coming to marry that man and forget this table. And really, there's plenty of pictures where you don't even really see the table. Like, it wasn't a big deal. But for me, no one told me there was going to be a table there. There was a table there. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So that was another thing. And then guests switched seating. So, you go through all this time to do seating arrangements. And guests, there were people who actually, you have your place cards, and they switch seating apparently. So I didn't realize that until we're sitting at our sweetheart table looking out over at our guests, and I'm like, hold up, that's supposed to happen like that. And I was angry. Like, I was sitting at the sweetheart table actually upset, and my husband had to pull me together and go, hey, get that together. What is important? Remember what this is. We don't care. And I had to straighten that up, so I was able to get it together. But I hate that he had to do that. You know what I mean? And he does that. He does that all the time. He's always straightening me out and putting me together. I just love it. But at that point, no, wasn't. I wish that wasn't a thing. And there's just things are gonna happen, and I just want you to know that it's like, just go with the flow more. Don't be like me. Now, and about the guests switching the table, I did talk about that later. Like, once I got back home, there was a conversation like, yo, That's not cool. But at the time, I wish I could have just like seen it, went, okay, deal with that later, and then moved on from things. Now, in reference, and I talked about it a little bit with the preparing yourself, like how I needed to do that, how we could have done that for our welcome guest ideas. Um, what we did was we underestimated the amount of time that everything was going to really take. And that's just more, the mistake was like not knowing how tired and how much moving will really do and what that really means. We ended up like renting a cabana for pretty much the whole week. Well, yeah, the whole week that we were there. There were certain days we didn't even go. And I still like that we did that because we could still do things, but it was more of a surprise about how much movement there was. Like we had to go to the tasting, and then we had to go to the liquor store, and then we had to go to the Walmart, and actually it was in the opposite order. We went to Walmart, then we went to the liquor store, then we went to the tasting or something like that. But either way, and then you're here, and then you're meeting this guest, and then you've got this, and you got to go take these photos, and then you're here, and then you got to go and see these people, and then in the midst of that, you have guests that see you, and you want to spend time with your guests too, and things that happen. Like we did not get to really enjoy the resort in any way. Like we've been to that resort luckily, so we were able to enjoy it before, but at the time we were not able to. And I think that what we could have done, that way for you guys to learn from that, or something you could do, is just the comps that you get from your resort, really try to be intentional about using them. Like if you know that you're going to get some bottles of wine, then make sure that you, when you arrive, talk to somebody that's going to get those, or make a reservation at a restaurant. Like we did not eat at a restaurant at all. Or if you got spa credits, because you get those, use them. Like when you arrive, or really make a plan to schedule a massage and then actually go and use it. We didn't even think about that kind of stuff, and I feel like it just was so this and so that, so this and so that, that I feel like I loved what Alea did in the was that episode 32, the more recent Dusty Bride. I love what she did with them deciding to arrive sooner to really enjoy themselves, because we definitely went, and either it's fine to go, but just be prepared for that, and we just weren't prepared. And I feel like that was what the heck, like exhausted every night was absolutely the feeling, like, oh, in a great way. It was great exhausted, but it was still exhaustion. Did you invite family to the civil ceremony? We did not. And it wasn't a full ceremony. We didn't even know it was going to be what it was. We had because the judge has you come back, and he says, has this little thing that he says, and he let us, I think, say something too. And he was really nice, and we've heard that other judges don't do this, but he actually was like, you guys got your phone, let's record this. So while he's doing it, he actually recorded it, and we weren't expecting that in any way, like not at all. So no, we didn't invite anybody, and I don't have any family in Pittsburgh anyway, so that wasn't an option, and I don't think we would have anyway. It was good to have that moment, just the two of us, honestly. Now, yeah. So Haley says, getting caught in the details is going to be my biggest downfall. You need to listen to episode, I'm not even going to lie and tell you which one, but it's called 15 Things to Never Forget. Please listen to that episode because I go really deep into that. But remember the details and forget the details are two very different things. And pencils down, like you're going to love it. But listen to that one, you're going to love it. And hi, I don't know you, so welcome. Well, I shouldn't say I don't know you, but you're a new face, so hi. Couple more things. How am I doing on time? Okay, good. No, I'm good. All right, let me bring this down. So, I underestimated time. Oh, underestimated time. Check. Overpacked. I overpacked, y'all. The amount of, and overpacked as in too many pairs of shoes, I specifically was going to Mexico, so I didn't need that many pairs of heels. And by that many, I think I packed like 4 or 5. Wasn't necessary at all. A lot of plan B outfits. Now, I'm glad I did have a plan B in a certain area because of what ended up happening, like with our photos. Like we had the pre-wedding photo shoot that ended up getting pushed to the side. So, uh, pushed to the side like there was a weather thing. That's a whole other thing. I don't want to dig too deep into that. I'll talk about that later. But we ended up having to reschedule our pre-wedding photo shoot. So I had that outfit that I already wore, and it was like, it's not gonna happen. So the next day we had another one. So I had to have another outfit. It worked out really nicely. But other than that, too much stuff, like our suitcases, there was so much crap that I had. And another great example is, again, going to Mexico. Why do I need 2 curling wands, a coily one, and also a waving one, and a flat iron, and just a regular barrel curling iron, and a blow dryer? And I feel like I had something else. What else did I have? Curling wand. Oh, yeah, curling wand, curling iron, and two. Yeah, I had too much. I didn't need any of those things. If you look at my photos, what I wore was 2 cornrows, hair parted down the middle, and 2 cornrows. And at one point, what I did was just kind of left the top part and unraveled them so you had the wavy part. And then for the wedding day, I had Ivory, who did my beauty and my hair, and she brought her own stuff. So she used that. And then for the honeymoon, it was just a bunch of buns and just my hair down. But all I really did was just have my braids with some leave-in, get them wavy, and that was it. Did I use a curling iron? Not one time. Did I need it? No. But have I ever gone on vacation without having one of those things? No. Because, okay, let's just say you need a wand maybe or whatever. You need one thing. But I went crazy with that stuff and traveling with it and having space for it. And we ended up, not sure how much you know about me, but I talked about it in the blog, but we ended up order having to order, yeah, having to buy another suitcase. And I really feel like it's possible that it was a full suitcase full of stuff that probably didn't have to make it. That's how I feel about it. I had way too much stuff. Way too much stuff. So I overpacked. And back to the, yeah, so in one of the things, one of my big things, like I feel like everybody knows that I always tell you guys to meet your vendors. So make sure that you know who you're working with. And we did have our planner who really handled and everything, and we really met pretty much every vendor except for our florist. I never met our florist. We picked them. Our planner had never worked with them, but we had her reach out to them and meet them, and she loved them, and she said yes, absolutely. The work was impeccable, but I personally, like, we never got on the call with them. And everybody else, we Skyped with our DJs, we Skyped with, of course, our planner, we Skyped with our officiant, we Skyped with everybody. But what we didn't do is with the florist. And I feel like there was a real feeling of, there was a disconnect there. And her work was great, but I feel like there was like a moment where we're communicating through the planner, which is her job to do that. But I kind of just felt like I would have loved to have been able to connect with the florist more. So I feel like I'm always telling you guys to do it. And a big part of that is, one, because we did do it, but a mistake was not doing with everybody. And if you're getting married on a resort, you can still ask to meet these people. Like, you do pick and you choose, but you can ask, who do you use? And you can reach out to those people to make sure that they know and you have that personal touch. There's no problem with doing that. So we did get married off the resort, so everybody was very separate. But if you're getting married on a resort, you can do the exact same thing. So, Haley, thank you. I've been a subscriber forever. Just always miss the last. Oh, well, thank you. Hi, join the community. I'll give you the link in the thing in the bio. And and I'm down for the last one. So the absolute last thing was vibe. So you guys know I'm very much into the love and the positivity and the vibe, and a big, huge, gigantic part of that is because that was a part for me that was a bit of a struggle. So I feel like overall I did a really great job in making sure that I was surrounded by the right people. And that's the right people. Well, we're very much in like making sure that we're embracing the people that love us and that support us and that are there for us. And something that I did that I wish that I would have done differently is made sure that when I was getting ready, I had all of the people that are really like the support for me. And there there was, of course, there was like drama that went on. I feel like y'all could probably relate to that. Or if you read the blog, and if you haven't read the blog, I will give you the link to that, and it's a good 200 days to read and have fun about and all the things. But throughout my journey, there was drama that went on, some things, some relationships, all this type of stuff. And what I did in addition to the drama, I also had some relationships that maybe when we first, because we had a 2 year engagement, when we first got engaged, my relationships have like gotten better. Like you get closer to somebody over the time. But when we first got engaged, I pretty much made the decision on who was gonna come. Like it's like deciding on who your bridal party is a bit premature. I kind of feel like that. Like I kind of like the idea of deciding on your bridal party maybe a little bit later or figuring that out. Like for me, I would have definitely done it that way. And it was pretty much set in stone, like who's going to be with me for my getting ready. And when it came time for getting ready, I really felt like there were people who were like actually missing. And I should have made an executive decision and be like, no, I want, whatever. And it was different from like either not wanting to like offend people or not wanting to like ask too much and go, hey, could you be there with me? But I know that like for a fact on my getting ready day, a specific person who I was like, I really wish that she was here with me. And also wish this one wasn't. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Either way, I feel like there was a moment where thinking about the vibe, I really tried to be really good about it, like not having a bridal party because I didn't want things to get crazy or to be asking too much. But this next go around, and when I say next go around, I'm not having another wedding. At least I don't think I'm having another. We have another wedding, Che? We gonna do it again? What you think? Okay, anyway. 5 year or 10 year or whatever, whenever we decide to do something else, I will be way more intentional, way more true to myself about what I really want and what makes the most sense. And that's even leading up to the day of, like the day before. If the day before somebody ain't acting right and ain't doing the right things, then some changes need to be made potentially. So I feel like I would have just wanted to think more about that. And yeah, so think about that. Think about who you really want to be around you. Just because they are a bridal party member or just because they're in something or they're a part of it doesn't mean they have to be there with you while you're getting ready. While you're getting ready specifically is such like an important time that just really hold that and you have that, and that's a big thing. Not only do you have photos of it more than likely or video nowadays, but it's just still something that will always sit with you. These are the moments before, so make sure that you're really thinking about those and digesting who's gonna be there for real. And so yeah, value and choose your bride friends, y'all. And yes. So I will say keep in mind again that these were my mistakes, and mistakes don't mean regrets. These are just things that went how they went, and there's learning opportunities more than anything else. Some of them could be regrets, but oftentimes with your mistakes, that just means that they're learning opportunities. That means that maybe some boundaries were set. Maybe you just learned how to like really stand up for yourself, or maybe you learned that you're actually are forgetful or that you don't remember this. Like it's just ways for you to grow. Like your full wedding planning journey, like what you're planning a Desti wedding, the best thing about this is you're working together with your partner. And I feel like this is like step one in everything. Like you're budgeting together and you're talking about, family, and you're deciding on what's really important, and you're digging into details and you're hurting feelings, but then communicating about it, and you're planning something that you've like probably you've never planned an event of this magnitude together. So all of this, like nothing is perfect. And again, I'll start this out in this how I started it with just saying that I've had you guys, and I'm not gonna say not you specifically, but I've had commentary over the years about how perfect my wedding looked and how perfect they want theirs to be. And I just have to tell you that your wedding will be perfect for you. And at the same time, no wedding is absolutely positively perfect. Things change, things happen, and there are ways of working through it all, but it's just an amazing experience. And I'm so happy for you guys, and you know that I'm here for y'all. Let me look. Needed to hear this. My girls aren't showing any interest. It happens. But go back to my number one and my number two. That's just the case. That's what happens. But just surround yourself with the people who are. If there are people who are not supportive, then you hang out with the people who are. And if you need to know who is supportive, then you can join the community, which I know that you specifically are part of it. But for everybody, be a part of that. You know, come to Bride from Brunch, come to Dusty Hour, reach out to me, talk to me. I can connect you with people, or just be the one to be a cheerleader. Like, this is a hard time. This is a big thing, but this is just the one of many, many amazing things that you're going to go through in your life. Like, you're starting a whole new chapter. So it's still just like, it's a chapter. It's just a thing. Everything passes. And I know that you guys are going through a lot with COVID right now. So know that I'm doing my best to try to support you guys. And it's like a crazy, crazy time, but this works for you, but it works for everybody. Like, there's fear and there's anxiety about things not being perfect, but I can tell you that this is going to be perfect for you. Like, it's going to go how it needs to go, how it's supposed to go, and you're going to be excited about it, and you're going to love it, and the people who come will be so lucky to be there. And yeah, so let me look really quick and make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. Nope. So that's it. I hope that my mistakes were helpful for you. I hope that you learn from them. I hope that you make your own mistakes and they work out very wonderfully for you, because I know that they will. Next week, I do have Desti Bride Laura for you. So if you guys are not subscribed, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. If you're excited, or if this was helpful for you, please give me a thumbs up. Share this with any other bride friends if you know anyone else planning a destination wedding, or anybody who's a part of this that may need to hear this, because sometimes you need to have your bride friends hearing some things too, so that they know what you're going through and then they could be supportive too. But yeah, just make sure that you share this, subscribe. We have Bride from Brunch on Saturday, so if you're watching this live tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern, I'm having a Bride from Brunch call live in the Destiny Lovers community. I will drop that link as well. And if you're new, give me that hashtag I'm a Desti and let me know when you're getting married and where you're getting married. You can find me and everything else at Destiland. That's www.desti.land. I'm on Instagram at desti.land. My name is Omi Allen. This is the video version of the Desti Guide to Destination Weddings, which also has a podcast. So wherever you listen to podcasts, you can always listen to this too. This episode specifically will be available sometime this weekend. And yeah, all I do is help you guys plan destination weddings and try to have the time of your life doing it. So I always end saying this, so I'm going to say it again. I will see you guys next week. And until then, I am wishing you all the best week of your life and reminding you to have the time of your life, planning the best days of your life. Bye, guys. This is so funny doing this live.